Hi guys, welcome back to Golden Reviewer. So here I have all 4 models of the S21 and S22 Ultra. So the S21 Ultra with Snapdragon, S21 Ultra with Exynos, S22 Ultra with Exynos, and S22 Ultra with Snapdragon. And here is a better look at the system information, the device information, the SoC, and everything. Okay, and the key point here is that all these 4 devices are updated to the latest March firmware, which officially supports disabling the GOS service. So essentially that means we can unleash the full performance potential of these devices in games, especially very demanding games like Genshin Impact, which we are going to test today. And in order to do that, you have to switch on this enable alternate performance management in the Game Booster Labs options, right? That's in the game launcher, so you can see that this is enabled on all 4 devices. So for today's test, we'll be using the Genshin Impact game, and here you can see that we've set every graphics settings to high as possible, and also enable 60 FPS. So I'll play the game for about 10 minutes, and I'll try to make all my routes and the moves are consistent across the devices to make the results fair and comparable. Okay, so this is actually a very interesting comparison. So you may watch the full footage with real-time FPS and power consumption to see every single detail in the comparison. Otherwise, also feel free to just skip to the end of the video where I'll measure the temperature and I'll give you a compiled full result of the FPS and the power consumption from these 4 devices. Okay, without further ado, let's go.
下一项工作是
收兵器。
请勿勿扰。
这下如何？这招。终于还是到头了。终于还是。
弹起来吧，我会跟上的。炸弹！请勿勿扰。下一项工作是。
到头了。
下一项工作是。我会跟上的。
拒收兵器。
我会跟上的。
固若金汤。
上海话社。
拒收兵器。
下一项工作是。棒棒炸弹！
安如磐石。
太多了，太多了！
此乃天道。固若金汤。
这项工作该划掉了。
有大家在身边。
讲不通就打脸了。
拒收兵器。安如磐石。
见识下师傅的枪法。
该走空虚了。热乎热乎嘛。
安如磐石。
请勿勿扰。
Alright guys, so we finished 10 minutes test, and that's a very interesting comparison. Here we can see that for the FPS result, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 is indeed the fastest chip of all four, and the Snapdragon 888 is not far behind, right? The difference is only 2 FPS, or put it in another way, only 5%. So this seems very small for a generational improvement. So they are actually pretty similar. As for the Exynos, we see a more interesting result. The Exynos 2100 actually performs slightly better, like ever so slightly better than the Exynos 2200, but the difference is actually very small, and less than 1 FPS. So we can say that it's actually within the error of margin. So we can say that the Exynos 2100 and 2200 actually performs the same. So there is actually no improvement at all. And then of course both the Snapdragon models actually performs quite significantly better than the Exynos models, and at this point I think that's not a surprising news to any of us, right? The Snapdragon is usually just better at gaming. And then for power consumption, we see a pattern that the Snapdragon models in general consumes slightly more power than the Exynos models, right? So for the Snapdragon 888 is about 6.6 to 7, and for the 8 Gen 1 is 6.9 to 7, and then for the two Exynos models is around 3.6 watt. So there is about 5 to 10% of power consumption difference here. So the Snapdragon models are faster, but they also consume a little bit more power. And lastly, here is a compiled full result from the testing, and also I've included the results from some other tests, including the iOS devices, to give you an idea of how these devices actually compare against the competitors, right? And to be honest, I feel pretty disappointed with this year's SoC as well, because as you can see, there is almost no improvement or even a slight decrease in performance compared to last year models. Okay, so that's all for today's video. I hope you find the video interesting or helpful. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.